Hi there. I'm Heather Hennessy from Heather Hennessy Life Coaching, where I coach exclusively career professional women who are either expecting their first baby or who have one child who is under 18 months of old. So, this is really women who are working career professionals and who are adjusting to motherhood for the first time. So, that is my specialty as a coach. I am a certified life and weight loss coach. And why do I coach these women? Because that's who I was not very long ago. And that's really the journey that I was on when I found coaching myself and realized what a fantastic resource it could be. So now this is part of what I offer is coaching assistance to these women. So for today, I wanted to spend some time talking about what I really wanted most when I was a brand new mom, which was really just to feel better, right? We've had a few weeks where we talked about um, how new motherhood, w- universally, right? New motherhood can sometimes really feel terrible. It feels fantastic, but it can also feel really challenging. And that's because, as we discussed a couple weeks ago, right, there's this enormous amount of change that you're undergoing and you're doing it very, very quickly. And the human brain just really hates to go through that much change that quickly. So, for today's topic, I really wanted to kind of frame this up for us in a way that is far more empowering than the normal narrative that's out there. So, if you are a brand new mom, feeling better starts with you, which is fantastic news. So I often sort of start this conversation with my clients by asking the question, what exactly do you want for yourself as a working mother? Answering that question and giving yourself permission to work toward your goal is a huge way to feel better during the early months of your motherhood. Now, I ask this question very simply, but I fully recognize what a profound question this is. And there's a lot happening behind the scenes with this question. I think that many of us, if we have an answer to it, that we're not being anywhere near as ambitious with our answer as we could be. And then there are people like me who literally, if you had tied me down during the first months of motherhood and asked me that question, I don't even think I could have answered it for you. Um, I certainly couldn't have answered it for myself at first. I just was so enjoying the wonderful parts of motherhood, but so struggling with the parts that were a struggle for me. And I was also struggling with um, all the parts of my life that had been kind of messy before I had a baby, and all of my coping mechanisms stopped working. So, you know, new baby, career, and my life just kind of all at one time. Um, and I was just seeking ways to feel better however I could. Um, the what happens though, I was just kind of flailing, right? I was sort of doing everything and nothing at the same time. So, there were places in my life where I was facing challenges like my weight. I had, gained a lot of weight with the baby. That was, I didn't feel good in my body. And I wanted to sort of get back into, something that looked like healthy habits for me and sort of trying to figure that out. And then also, your schedule is just completely upended when the baby arrives, right? Your sleep goes out the window. You've got this, you know, brand new baby in the house who sort of weighs 10 pounds and seems to dictate everything. And so I'm sort of like, who are you and how did you take over? So coping with the changes on that level. So, the eating, the schedule, how am I as a professional now? All of it and none of it. I didn't have any focus. I didn't have any direction for myself. I wasn't giving myself the support that I needed to come up with a plan and figure out my plan and move forward in my plan and get some momentum behind me. I was everywhere and nowhere. So so many of the things that I recognize now were sort of working against me. We've also spoken recently about this series of old assumptions about working motherhood, which are really sort of baked in societal narratives, or some of us that we have from our families or our friend group, whatever the case may be, but that if we're not paying attention, these societal assumptions can really be sort of bossing us around on the subconscious level. So this is things like working mothers really have a tough time of it. This is hard. It's too much. How interesting is it that we have a statement about working motherhood that it's too much, that we all kind of buy into on some level or another. And definitely I had my moments where I thought it was too much. That thought was not serving me. It was not getting me anywhere. But it was a societal assumption that I had heard and had seen a lot of people, you know, live out, and that I took on as one of my own and as part of my own narrative. So there's that. We definitely don't let a video go by where we don't talk about that set of societal assumptions. So up against that, I didn't think I had the power to ask myself what it was that I wanted as a working mother. I just need to make it through. No, that wasn't the case. I actually could have been doing a lot more to sort of steer my ship at the moment than I was doing. Um, Building upon that, but not completely the same, I had not allowed myself to dare to dream that I could really thrive as a working mother, that I could explore new opportunities in my life, that I could improve myself professionally and personally. So you see how this is related to the first point about those societal assumptions or family assumptions or assumptions we have from watching the experience of others. Who was I to dare to think that I could have it differently, that I could be different? Hmm? I am now living proof that I could dare. I am living proof that daring to think that, yeah, you can thrive at home and thrive at the workplace. It's totally available to me and to you. But there's something daring about dreaming about that and about figuring out how to make it reality and how to have a kind of ease and uh, and a flow to your time as a working mom. And the early months of my time as a mom were just sort of me by myself, like Googling and trying to figure out what I needed to do differently as a working mom and how to help myself. And it wasn't pretty. And, I was very overweight. I was not getting enough sleep, right? Like things were falling through the cracks at work. My relationships were really undergoing profound change. And, there's just a lot of upheaval there. And I had no idea that that was totally normal and was totally to be expected, and that there was a graceful way for me to be handling some of those changes. So, when you're by yourself and you don't really have a roadmap for what you could be doing and you're just flailing, again, it's really hard to fix on a goal and to start to work toward that goal. I didn't even know what goals I should have had. The word should I find to be a problematic one, but what kind of goals I could have even set myself up with that I would have possibly been able to achieve. I was just trying to feel better. So the truth of it is that motherhood has the potential to make you more capable, more focused, and more interested in pursuing your career while also really being exactly the mother that you want to be. I had no idea that that was true. I had nobody sort of modeling that for me or telling me that or encouraging me in that direction. The other truth of it is that you can feel better just on your own. You don't need for anything or person in your life to change. You're actually far more powerful in all of this than you think you are, than you realize, and then you have been told that you are. So, new motherhood is really presenting you with this fantastic opportunity to tap into some of your power, your creativity, and your ambition that lies inside of you and start making some changes that can just drive tremendous results in your life. So, the other thing, this goes hand in hand with those sort of societal assumptions, is the line of thinking that there's a right way or a wrong way to do motherhood, or anything that you encounter really that looks like, competitive motherhood. This is where other people are using each other as measuring sticks for what they should or shouldn't be doing. Um, so really letting go of the idea that there is a one size fits all approach to motherhood. It's just a really freeing thing not just to think, but to start to embody that you're allowed to do this motherhood how you want to do it. What does that look like in your life? What does that mean for you? You get to answer those questions. So, some women, it's fascinating. They just never miss a beat, right? They have a baby and everything just kind of falls into place and they keep right on going. Others, like me, make huge changes. I mean, my life has done a 180 since I became a mom. And both of those approaches are completely fine. The people who, the baby kind of slides right into their life and they keep on trucking, and those of us who decide, oh, I'm going to change everything, kind of, you know, all at the same time, maybe without even really realizing that that was what I was doing. But there's no wrong answer. And if it serves you to make a lot of changes, go for it. Um, It's just a choice that you are able to make and own for yourself and enjoy what comes after the changes. Um, the baby brings change. Again, the tiniest person in the household brings a lot of changes. Um, and I think that for my clients who are, professional women who are pretty advanced in their careers, that change is actually more profound. Um, my clients tend to have a pretty solid self-identity as, career professional women. Some of them in very, very high positions. Some of them, the breadwinners for their family. That's who I was when I had a baby. I just happened to be the breadwinner for my family at the time. And so I think that when you've got that kind of level of professional success and you really identify yourself very closely with that professional success, I think more often than not, you fall into the profound change category instead of into the, motherhood just glides right in and there's not much difference between the before and after. My clients, it, because of how their lives are structured, because they tend to be older working professional women who've got the years of experience in the workplace to really have achieved some of these, high positions where they own their own businesses, right? So you've got a business that's so closely tied to your identity. Um, I I think it's different. I really do. This is why the outcomes are different. This is why the levels of adjustment are different. And again, this is that one size fits all mentality is just really garbage. Absolute garbage. And we use it against ourselves. We feel as if other people are at times using it against us, right? We have a thought that people are judging us for the way that we're doing motherhood. So, you know, letting go of the one size fits all approach, I think, can be extremely, again, liberating and freeing. So there's that aspect. And then there's also the value judgments, sort of removing any value judgments that you're having about how you are adjusting to motherhood is such a relief. Talk about garbage. If you want to be a working mom with a thriving career and a thriving home life, that's available to you without qualification. And you don't owe anybody an explanation for what you're doing or why you're doing it. You also don't owe anyone an apology for living out your life as a working mom on your terms. And there's a lot going on in that statement, but I do want to highlight this. I think we sometimes see other moms struggling, and we think on a subconscious level that if we go about the business of thriving, we are somehow insulting other people who happen to be struggling. This is not true. That's not what we're doing. I really invite you, if that's how you feel, even on a subconscious level, take a look inside, how you're approaching working motherhood. If you feel like you might be able to really thrive and excel during your time as a new working mom, go for it. You're not making other people look bad. You're not. You're living your life. Other people are living their lives, and that's fine. We're all allowed to have different experiences. And it was the people who I thought were thriving and who I could see doing something that I couldn't even really articulate for myself, having those people out there in the world was really helpful to me. Um, the ones who do sort of slide naturally into motherhood, that's what I was trying to figure out. How do I do that? How do I get that? How do I figure that out? So again, don't undercut yourself. Don't sell yourself short in the name of, you know, empathizing or validating or, you know, justifying somebody else's experience of motherhood. Do this on your terms because you and your child are the ones who are living day to day in your choices. You owe it to yourself and to this new little one that you have to just stand on your own experience here. So, going through this process and kind of doing this work on yourself, you know, and what I'm describing here today, right? This is a good bit of inner work, introspection, paying attention to yourself, questioning some of your decisions and your decision making. All of this has the capability of having a profound effect on you, and it can start to reduce guilt for people who are feeling a lot of guilt. And I see and hear this so much guilt about anything, right? Like any part of working motherhood that might be making you feel guilty. Kind of taking a hard look at what you want and why you want it and owning it can start to dissipate some of that guilt. Um, Otherwise, we sort of have a damned if I do and damned if I don't mentality going on. And that's just the default, I think, that our brains kind of come up with until we make some intentional decisions and start to act powerfully on those decisions. Our brains love to not make a decision and sort of stay in that damned if I do, damned if I don't. I'm trying to figure out this working motherhood thing, but I'm not going to set any goals for myself, right? Would be damned if I don't. And then we feel like, oh, if I do start to work on my life, set some goals, tap back into my ambition, that there's some, downside to doing that. Our brains love to keep us there because our brains are tired. We have a tiny baby. Our sleep is disrupted. We are genuinely undergoing a profound period of change. But the work that I'm describing sort of puts you in the position where you are going with that change instead of fighting against it. You start to swim with the current of change and the current of what motherhood is going to look like for you instead of fighting against it. And, you know, if I had to kind of get in the brain of somebody who has what looks like to be an easier time of the adjustment, I think they do that naturally. I think that those women have a baby and find that flow that they want. This is what I want my life to look like. And I'm just going to go about the business of doing that. Again, without asking permission or apologizing to anybody, they just do it. And everybody in their life kind of adjusts around them. That's what I suspect is happening. Now, I don't spend a lot of time speaking to those women because they don't need coaches. My clients tend to be the ones who are like me, who are having a hard time of the adjustment and are really struggling and want help. But that's my guess, is that those women make some intentional decisions and begin to act powerfully to make them happen. Getting out of indecision is such a relief. And, going back to how we started today, just decide what you want it and own it unapologetically. And, it's fascinating to sort of think about this. I think that us individually, mother by mother, doing this work at the individual level is really important, and that through that process, we can cause a collective change in the conversation around working motherhood. Those old assumptions about working motherhood being too hard, being a struggle, really being so challenging, we can start to change those assumptions by being living proof that they are not true. And that's the sort of macro level at which this work, I think, can have a tremendous impact. If you are a person who is a leader in your workplace, if you are a person who mentors younger women, if you are a person who, has any kind of position of influence and authority, then you are somebody who can do this for yourself and, get all kinds of benefits from having this conversation for yourself and then become somebody who's an inspiration for other people. I think that's tremendously powerful. So, sort of starting to ask ourselves questions like, how good can we get at working motherhood? How good can we get of taking care of ourselves as working mothers? Not being the people who are just kind of struggling and our health is declining and we're not sleeping enough, right? How can we improve sort of that set of factors in our own life and start to change the conversation about those assumptions? How good can we get at managing our experiences as new mothers who work? And how good can we get at interrupting this pattern of using the word should around mothering? Um, we're shoulding on ourselves, and it is not doing us any good. You see how our brains throw this word around. Even just today during this video, my brain several times wants me to use the word should. I am on to my brain here. Every time I hear the word should come up in my head, it's worth questioning. And if you have a lot of conversation with yourself about things that you should or should not be doing, it's really worth investigating where that's coming from. And if it's not coming from a place that's doing you a lot of good, it's so worth, you know, trying to ban the word. Just try to ban the word should from your brain for a week and see what happens. So, starting, sort of where we started, what exactly do you want as a working mother? I sincerely invite you to take some time and answer that question for yourself. And if you are coming up blank, or if you think that what you want is impossible, or if you have a lot of judgments about yourself for what you want, or if you think that other people will judge you if you go after what you truly want. All of those situations are places where coaching can be invaluable to you. So I work with my clients in dedicated one-on-one sessions to help them uncover these answers for themselves and then really go to work on bringing about the change that they most want to see in their lives. My coaching practice is currently accepting new clients. So I invite you to reach out to me if you're interested in doing so. It would be my absolute pleasure to be part of your journey as a working mother. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I am Heather Hennessy with Heather Hennessy Life Coaching, and my website is heatherhennessy.com. Thanks again.